better, and that's what we really strive to do, is just improve upon our practices, our stewardship, our flavor, and our product every year, and you all help make it possible. Also, just raise your hands again, members, and keep your hand up if you've been a member longer than a year. Longer than 2 years? 3 years? 4 years? Yeah, that's 5 years, 6 years? Yes. Awesome, great. Yeah, so we've been raising certified grass-fed and grass-finished beef in the Bay Area for close to 20 years.
Wow.
My husband grew up here, did a couple ranches up. He's a 6th generation cattle rancher. And together we transitioned his cow-calf operation to 100% grass-fed, grass-finished to provide to our local community. And so what really gets me going in the morning is that we're not only providing nutrient-dense food for thousands of families, but we get to do it in a way that is in harmony with nature. And so that's really a lot about what we're going to talk about on our tour today, is sort of how that really looks on the ground, and how these animals are part of that, and they can contribute positively to biodiversity, to carbon drawdown, to increasing grassland birds, and to really keeping these incredible, beautiful lands, productive ecosystems into the future. And we're also joined today by Audubon, Jen and Matt over here. And Matt's going to do a little talk when we're out, just to tell you a little bit about how we work together and their program. But you know, it really is a heart-centered work. Like, we didn't go into this thinking like, oh, we're gonna make a bunch of money, right? We went into this because we care. We care about all life outside of our door, and we care about our children's future. And we also want to live in a community that is supportive, and we have the ability to breathe clean air, drink clean water, like basic human rights, right? Basic things that all humans should have access to. So we want to do our part to provide that food in our region that people can have access to. And so it's been quite the journey because agriculture is not really set up for people like us that really are very values-based. Our mission is to not only produce food, but to do it in a way that's regenerating land, regenerating soil, and by using regenerative agriculture, we can produce more life than every life. And I've got a couple books out. If you haven't picked them up, this is a great day to pick them up, and just really talks about sort of some of that philosophy and the way that we work with nature instead of against it. So we will head out on our walk, but before we go out, is there any quick questions? Feel free to ask questions anytime during the tour as well. We'll be walking out and seeing some of the animals, and then we'll come back through here, and I'll sort of be over by the pigs if anybody wants to check out the pigs. I've got some piglets over there, and then we'll kind of wrap up the group. So any other questions? All right, well, let's head out.
Let's go see them.
You ready?
Good.
Ready?
Yeah. He wants to wait to stuff away.
Yeah.
One of my daughters.
Give him a hug. Give him a big hug. Yeah.
Cool.
A
great menu here. We're gonna have lunch afterwards. Looking forward to it. And Markegard Family grass-fed beef and lamb. So check them out on Instagram, maybe their website, YouTube. So this is in Half Moon Bay, California. So very cool. Looking forward to a wonderful tour. We get to see the chickens. I thought I had a lot of chickens. And my love. Get the horses. Yeah, it's beautiful. Beautiful day in California. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. So let's see. We thought we had a long driveway. This is truly grass-fed. The babies. So they got the cows. Just over there. Oh my goodness.
He smells us with his tongue.
Wow.
Beauty, huh?
The babies. And the chickens are over there. Oh my goodness. So funny. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
There's some Barbados mixed in there, and yeah, the sheep do a great job because sometimes they'll graze the same pastures as cattle, or they'll come in at a different time than cattle, and so they sort of have different forage preferences, and so they'll eat a lot of more of like the weedier species, and the cattle will eat more of the grasses. So you can see our cattle in the background there. We just brought them in from the back of the ranch this morning. So one of the big themes is movement, right? We're always moving. And what's the opposite of move?
Sedentary.
Is stagnant, right?
Yep, stagnant.
So it's
sedentary.
like, what happens when our bodies are stagnant and we don't move, right? Our health declines. So it's the same with animals. It's the same with grasses. It's the same with soils. It's the same with all ecology. The lack of movement results in decline of health. And the more we move, and the more we move in a really intentional and healthy way, the healthier the animals will be, the healthier our bodies will be,
the healthier the meat will be, and in turn, the grasses and the soils. So as my role as a regenerative rancher is to move, and I move the animals, right? So I moved the animals in from the back of the ranch this morning, brought them in, and then they had grazed one pasture and left all of that great fertility, right? And then that grass comes back even healthier, and those animals can move to a fresh pasture, away from their manure, away from their flies, and then the grasses then move the soils, right? They move that carbon, they draw down that carbon from the atmosphere and move it into the soils in that incredible process called photosynthesis, which takes carbon from the atmosphere, draws it down to the soil, and through all of that diversity in the soil, like the fungi and the microbes, they're all working to produce healthy plants, biodiversity, and store carbon long term. And so, yeah, that's our sheep, and we don't move the cattle or the sheep every day, but we do move the chickens every day. So we'll go check out the chickens next.
Tell us about the llama.
Oh, the llama thinks it's a sheep.
So funny.
Like if a coyote comes along, the llama will chase away the coyote. So that's why we only have one llama, because if they had like a group of llamas, they would like relate to each other and they'd be kind of off in their own little llama group. But since there's only one, it just
So
is
funny.
in with the sheep. So.
Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy.
Oh, it's like with mom and she said that the chicken, you gotta either have them all be the exact same. Yeah, or else
Yeah, I mean, we've got 800, so it just happens.
Yeah.
It's more devastating if like you have 6 or 800.
Yeah. They're not listening. Look at the dog. He's a working. That's a working dog. Oliver's not a working dog. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the chickens.
And be careful walking across this cattle guard here. You can also walk around.
Thank you.
See this gate?
Oh.
That's where you're walking. Whoa.
It's funny, they don't all run to the fence like ours.
Yeah, they don't get fed like
Oh my gosh.
They're real sick them.
Yeah.
Watch the barbed wire. See it? Can you see the barbed wire above your head?
Oh.
There's gotta be a chick.
Okay.
I see a chick. Do you see one? Look at there.
Oh. They're free range, my lad.
That's a good question.
The ones with the red thing on their head.
So did you hear what Doniga was saying about that llama? If you keep one llama with a group of sheep, the llama thinks it's a sheep and will protect the sheep from predators like coyotes. It'll chase the coyotes away. But if you put more llamas in there, then the llama will think it's a llama and won't really protect the sheep anymore. Is that interesting?
There's so many under there.
They don't like the sun as much as ours.
Yeah, I know.
Crowd in.
chicken breed. They've got a great story. They originated from Cabrillo Hwy S in France, and it was developed by a group of rural farmers to set themselves aside from the confinement houses that are moving in, and to develop a breed that really stands out in flavor and taste. So, who thinks our chicken is like the best chicken in the world? All right, come on. If you don't think that, you gotta give it another try. So, especially like a roasted chicken, or I cooked some bone-in chicken breasts on the grill last night. Oh, with some pesto from the garden. Oh, so tasty. And it's because they're out and they're healthy. You know, you can't have chickens raised in a confinement house without the use of antibiotics. You know, it's some of the highest antibiotics uses are in chicken confinement houses. So if they're out and they have clean water and clean food and grass, and they're moved away from their poo, which then is fertility, then they're always going to be healthy, and you don't need to intervene in any way. So these chickens are sort of playing that role of all of those band-tailed pigeons that we used to have a few hundred years ago in the accounts, where there would be pigeons that would come, and you hear stories of when they would land on a tree like that and you couldn't even see a single leaf because there'd be so much. Or the passenger pigeons out east where they would fly and blacken the sky, right? And so you think about this landscape and these grasslands, which are actually the most biodiverse grassland type in all of North America. This grassland called coastal terrace prairie, and you can see as you're driving up the coast, like it actually has these terraces. And if that fog, which we love the fog, like we love that fog coming in and dancing in, and if the fog wasn't there, you'd see like these plateaus and these terraces. And so this grassland is home to so many native species, some that are of real importance. The purple needlegrass or the California oak grass that are perennial bunch grasses with roots that grow so deep that they can tap into the water and the minerals. So during that long drought, even in the driest time of year, those perennial grasses still had green on them. So if we can increase the amount of perennials in our grasslands, then we can increase that photosynthesis longer into the year. Like the golden rolling hills of California is actually a new term. These hills used to stay green year round because of those perennials. And so just think about the implications of that. If we had green grass with a high moisture content farther into that season, and people that were consciously moving these animals to mimic how these grasslands evolved, right? These grasslands evolved with large grazing herds. There might have been a herd of 2,000 elk moving through these grasslands and grazing all of the plants and allowing them to regrow, increasing the vigor of that plant, because the life cycle of a plant is birth, growth, death, and decay. So in this Mediterranean climate, if we don't have animals grazing those grasses, they're sort of stuck in that death cycle, right? And just like the opposite of movement is stagnant, if we don't move that into the decay cycle through these animals that are grazing, and with their rumen is acting as like a chamber of these microbes that are in their rumen, and then that in turn creates that decay cycle through their manure, and that cycle can really be healthy and continue on. So stagnant grasses that aren't grazed actually oxidize and release carbon into the atmosphere. So if we can graze these grasslands in a healthy way, we're actually drawing down massive amounts of carbon. And our most recent study came back with a 12% increase in soil carbon based on the grasslands, and that's huge, because a 0.4% increase on all of our agriculture soils would actually halt human-caused emissions. So all of this cool science is coming out, and like we have to keep it going, and we have to continue to bring people out to really connect, right? It's one thing about watching a documentary about it, or hearing about it, or even, you know, going to the farmers market's a little bit closer, because you actually get to touch and feel and smell all of those incredible plants and everything that's being produced from these farms. But actually coming out and just taking a deep breath, right? Just breathing it in and feeling the soil and feeling the earth under your feet and connecting to your senses. It goes a long way. And if we take that time to really observe and understand that these cycles are here, and Mother Nature really has that wisdom. Sometimes we just need to get out of the way, but sometimes we need to help to direct that energy in a positive direction and actually play our part as humans and integrate and be stewards of this land. And the indigenous people, the Ramaytush Ohlone, who once stewarded this land, were active participants in that regeneration. They were active gardeners and tending this land and collecting and spreading seed and replanting tubers and being part of that predator-prey relationship with these grasslands, because their survival depended on it, right? Their survival depended on a bumper crop of acorns. So if they, you know, didn't tend to the oak savanna, then their families didn't. And we all remember the CZU fires, right? Do you think our survival depends on us stewarding and tending to the wild? Yeah. Yeah, and we learned that because we haven't tended to those forest and brushy lands. And you know what? Where the most resilient ecosystem to fire is, and how important it is also for firefighters to come in and be able to cut a fire break, where and the safest place for a fire to come to, where's that going to be? In an open grassland, right? Once it gets into the forest and in the canopy, then it can just go. So, you know, we experienced that firsthand. We're on the front lines of this, and so, you know, we can talk a lot about all of that, but you know, really, the meat is just sort of a byproduct of the stewardship of these incredible biodiverse ecosystems, and that's what really wakes me up in the morning and gets me going, is that my actions can be regenerative, and each decision that all of us make can either be degenerative or regenerative. And I'm going to hand it off to Matt here from Audubon, and he can just take like 5 minutes and talk about how this all relates to birds, and how your decisions to purchase grass-fed beef are really saving grassland birds. So. Thanks, Doniga.